What's happening? Andy here. I am joined today by Gary Lavin. Gary, how are you today?
I'm excellent, thank you. Andy, how about yourself?
I am excellent, staying warm here in somewhat sunny Western New York. Gary's with CEO Juice. Where are you today, Gary?
I am in sunny San Diego.
Sunny San Diego. I have to say, I'm a little bit jealous. Early enough in the morning. I guess your son is up. So tell us a little bit about who is CEO Juice and when did you guys start? And then I've got some things we want to chat about today.
Well, CEO Juice provides business and artificial intelligence for copier dealers, and we have about 96% of the medium to large guys in the US and Canada as clients. And we started in 2009, so been going for a little while now.
Yeah, you're past the decade point. You're always sort of behind the scenes in a lot of stuff. I see you, I wouldn't say lurking, but I've seen you at shows for years, always in conversations with dealers. I've seen a few of your presentations over the years, and we've been working with you now for a little while, and I understand a little bit better about what you do, and I think it's really neat. You do quite a few things for your customers. One of them we've been publicizing lately, and it's got a great reaction, obviously, is the NPS, right? The Net Promoter Scores. So tell us your involvement with that, and what is NPS for the dealer community? Just tell us about that program.
Well, so the goal is to make it easier for our clients to sell, right? And the way you do that is you get a bunch of raving fans as customers. And the way you get a bunch of raving fans is you get feedback on what you're doing well and what you could do better. And that feedback has to be easy and automated. And so that's the piece we do, is we make it very easy for our clients, customers, to give them feedback, and then we encourage our dealers to really take care of their customers. And you can see that in the Net Promoter Score, which is just telling you how well you are doing in terms of having raving fans as customers. And so, a Net Promoter Score of 70 is considered world class by the company that designed this system. And our average client has a Net Promoter Score of 85. So, they're knocking it out of the park. They're doing a great job, and it's making it easier for them to grow. And then each year we publish a list of the companies that have had world-class service, just to allow them to put it on their website. And then there is something called a perfect score, which is, almost impossible to do. CEO Juice has never come close. But it basically means that when you ask for a company to rate you 0 to 10, how likely they are to recommend you, where every single response is a 9 or a 10. And so, just pretty much impossible to do. But this year we had 3 companies that do that, which is impressive.
So who are the 3? They're on your website. You gonna tell us?
They're on my,
They are on your website.
They're on the website. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right. Well, I will put a link on there. I won't put you on the spot, but so this Net Promoter Score. So this is not just some, made up program for our industry that somebody just created, right? This is a well-known program that's used by some of the biggest companies. I'm gonna, take a few spots off your website. Costco, Ritz-Carlton, Amazon. So you're talking raving fans. And by the way, that's been a common theme at a lot of BTA meetings I've been at. We've seen a lot of presentations about how you create raving fans. And I think that's one of the things that makes our dealer community, pretty unique in the B2B world, right? People tend to, unless the dealer's dropping the ball, a lot of these companies, especially the ones growing, they're doing well with their customers. Their customers are happy, and you gave a rating which was in the 70s. You look at somebody like Amazon as a 73. So that, and by the way, I love Amazon. Everyone I know loves Amazon. So speaking of raving fans, and your average in our dealer channel is higher than that from the people that you're doing this for. So if you're not using Net Promoter Scores, we're going to put contact information in here. You guys should be talking to Gary. It's definitely something I think that's very valuable for your dealership. Put it on your website, and it's something that your customers are saying about you, right? It's not Gary saying it. It's not you're saying it, me saying it. It's the customers are evaluating them, and this is what you send out something ongoing. How do you get these ratings from the customers?
It's automated. So we have a few different processes. For example, after a service call, we give the end user a day to make sure, to try to use the equipment, to make sure it's working correctly. And then we send an email. And our emails are not asking for a survey. It goes something like, hey, as far as we're concerned, this equipment is fixed. We want to check that it's working to your satisfaction. And by the way, if something noteworthy, but only if something noteworthy happened, good or bad, we'd love your feedback to help us get better. And that's always the theme. It's not we have to have feedback. It's we want to know if something good or bad happened.
And you have a good participation from the customers, from the end users. Is this something, I know when I get these surveys, a lot of times they're kind of long and I don't always do them, right? You seem to have a pretty good response.
Yeah, we have it dialed in at this stage. I mean, we average about 10% response rate.
Okay. Well, that's definitely higher than the ones I do for Delta when I'm on the phone with them, right? So, and so the Net Promoter Score, I love that program. That's not actually everything I wanted to talk to you about today. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and the buzz right now and coming out of the gates with the new year has been Chat GPT, AI, right? Usable AI. Everybody's having meetings about it. Everybody, in our world, the consortium that we're all in. The Executive Connection Summit had somebody talking about it. So it's already peaked up, and when it gets the attention at our level, at the dealer level, it's it's kind of a big deal. So when you look at that, it's a form of AI. It's one part of AI, and it occurred to me that you guys have had AI on your website for as long as I've known you, and as long as I've been covering you. And you've been using it to help dealers in your own way. You've already found ways to, even before ChatGPT, before the first versions were out, you've been using it. So I'd like to know more. Could you tell us about the AI you guys, the program that you've put together? How does it work, and how does it benefit the dealers? What does it do?
So, buzzwords are evolving. So in the old days, we used to call it pattern recognition, and now we call it deep learning. But it was the concept of how does Google tell what's a cat versus what's a dog? And the short answer is you just feed it millions and millions of pictures of both, and eventually it's able to figure out the pattern, and people are trying to make ChatGPT seem, complicated, but it's kind of the same sort of thing. You take everything from the internet and you feed it into a model, and then you start asking questions, and it just looks for that same series of words somewhere else and what came after. So it's like today you start writing an email in Outlook, and it will predict the next word, and that's what ChatGPT does. It's just predicting the next series of words or sentences, because it's getting better at that based on everything that's on the web. And so back in the day, we used to call it automated processes, but now it's AI. So it's essentially, how do I take a process that we do manually and automate it, and perhaps at the same time put some intelligence behind it? So in the old days, somebody would look at your accounts receivable and, try to see who was more than 90 days late and then start getting on the phone. And then you just say, okay, let's put a little intelligence behind it and we'll just start emailing them, when they get 30 days late. But let's put a little more intelligence because we know that these big customers, we're not going to put those guys on credit hold. We're going to do something different for them. And so it's really just thinking about all of the different ways that a process should flow and trying to automate it. And that's what we've been doing. I started with this type of software in 2006. And then I had it implemented in my last dealership before I sold it. I knew when I sold the dealership that I was going to continue doing this sort of stuff because I enjoyed it. But that's it. It's really just automated processes with, as much intelligence as possible. Now we're getting very sophisticated in what we do today compared to what we were doing 10 years ago. And the beauty of software is, if you have a person doing something, it's all in their head, and B, they need vacations and they get sick occasionally. But if you have the system automating it for you, and it just always works, and it makes it so much easier to scale stuff.
So let me ask you: is this a turnkey solution, or when you work with a dealer, are you literally building this, writing code? Are you creating bots that do certain things for them? Is it based on supplies and service, and where does this fit in for the dealer?
Everything is code. When you talk to Alexa, somebody has to code all the different ways you might ask the same question. And then somebody else has to code for all the different accents you might have while you ask those questions. And somebody else has to code for all the different languages that you're going to support. So it's all blocks of code, and and the goal is you build them and you reuse them. And so in our world, let's say we're creating a sales order. Well, we might create a sales order coming in from the CRM after the sales guys have got an approved quote, or we might create a sales order coming in from an online ordering portal, or we might create a sales order coming in from a DCA that says a new toner is needed. And then we have a whole bunch of rules around that sales order as to, is it going to be drop shipped? Is it coming out of your inventory? What warehouse is it coming from? And if it's coming from ConnectWise, do have a different set of rules, and what type of shipping is used. And so it's the same blocks of code, and you just keep adding rules and giving people more and more options around how you want that to flow. And and what's good for our clients is a lot of the times they haven't even thought about how a process should flow until we get them, to document it. So the most complicated process in our industry is the whole equipment order workflow, from when a deal is approved, the way through until it's funded and the contract's created and everything else. And so we can automate most of the steps in that deal. And if you have it kind of a Six Sigma approach to, this is the way it should flow, and we're always going to go back and revisit and see if it can flow better, but that none of the steps will get missed because the system is automating it. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So this is something that this is what the company started as, right? I mean, you began as basically Intel for dealers, right?
Yeah, it's just where
Making use of this
it's
data that's out there.
making use of the data that's out there. And, I remember one of the things I showed off in maybe 2007 um, was a way to keep the sales reps updated on lease end equipment and a way to tell them when uh, the customer had placed a service call and the lease was almost up, which would be an opportunity for the rep to say, hey, how about you just move on that quote instead of spending money on this? Um, and it's getting the right data to the right person at the right time. The data is there and somebody could go find it, but it's putting it
You need to
in
connect
front of
it.
the right.
Somebody needs to take the time to connect all that together. And I do remember, when I sold, that would have been really helpful, right? If I was, signing into my CRM every morning and then I had my 10 calls or 25 calls I was supposed to make. And, maybe there was a little note that popped in that's up said, call number 3 placed a service call yesterday on their 6-year-old machine. Yeah, maybe it's time for it's just a good conversation starter, right? And I never got that kind of information. That was a little before this type of data was available, and so you've got dealers already using this. When somebody signs up for something like this, what's the process like? Like how do you get them onboarded, and then how long does it take them to get up and going with it?
Um, we basically hold their hand. That's kind of the goal. We hold their hand through turning on the first, say, 20 processes. And typically by then, um, they kind of figure out, okay, well, hey, this is cool stuff. Um, our model is everything's included. So, none of our clients use more than maybe 30% of our processes. So we have almost 1,000 processes, and all are used to some extent, but um, and you have to be careful. You have to filter in and get the exact information you need to the right people and make sure they know what to do with it. Otherwise, it becomes information overload. Um,
Yeah, I
but
could
but
see that.
as as technology improves too, we're able to do some newer, cooler things. So, for example, on the DCA side, that stuff's been changing quite a lot, and the devices are getting more intelligent. So today we're starting to do stuff like when a tech is dispatched to a call, if the device is saying, based on the error codes, etc., that it needs a certain part, we check and see, does the tech have that part in their stock before they leave? And if they don't, we say, hey, get this part before you go out there. Otherwise, you'll have a return visit.
Yeah.
So the whole predictive parts, is becoming easier to do.
Well, just saving a few trips a month per tech, right? I mean, add that up across your whole service fleet, and that's a lot of money you're saving right out of the gate. So, very cool, very cool. So this has been awesome. I learned a ton from you guys. Any last things you want to tell everybody before we wind down?
Well, so most of the base out there are clients of us, and I would say the owner needs to stay involved. So, it's the guy at the top who cares about how efficient the company is running. And so we see the most engagement when the guy at the top stays involved and, uh, set a quarterly or at least twice a year meeting with us just to talk about what else could I be doing. Uh, we're doing a lot at the moment with dashboards, and each owner is different, but they can all have their own little dashboard that they pull up in the morning that shows them, unbilled deals or big AR collections or whatever the data is they want to focus on. So
Well,
reach out to us.
the dashboards are the most useful thing, right? It's the way that you come in and, you get to basically put your thumb on the pulse of every part of your business on one screen. You can see your receivables, your billables. You can see, you can pull up what your sales team is doing. You can see what your service, fleet is doing, and, where are you for the month, and where with respect to budget, and, it just basically whatever you can build into it, I would imagine.
Right, but dashboards have their place. You can get lost in the weeds and kind of diving into dashboards. What we want you to think about when you look and something catches your eye, what is that exception that caught your eye, and what are you going to do with that information? And could we just automate that piece for you instead of you having to remember to go look and then chase somebody?
Very cool. Well, Gary, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This has been awesome. You guys are used by most of the dealers out there watching this in one respect or another, but I encourage everybody, who is using you for one thing, go back and look at the other things that CEO Juice does, because if you're not in the NPS program, that's something that end users, that customers recognize. That's not just some award that, people haven't heard of. That's something that is used across the board. It's used by, big companies. Ritz-Carlton's on there, and our dealer channel is up there, with numbers comparable to somebody at that level. You should be bragging about them if you've got them. So talk to Gary about that. Talk to him about the AI. Contact information in the description for this video below. But Gary, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Happy to. All right. Thanks, Andy.
We'll catch up soon. Take care.